Citations 50 and 51 are in the following portions of Houston PD Offense Report D68904, August 9th, 1973. August 9th, 1973. Additional grave sites at 4500 Silver Bell. That's where the boat shed was. Grave number 5, which contains bodies 9 and 10. This grave is approximately 14 feet south from the door of the garage, and the bodies were about 3 feet east of the west wall at their nearest point. Both bodies were about 3.5 feet deep. Body number 9 had the head to the west and feet to the east and was immediately south of and against body number 10. Body number 10 had the head to the east and feet to the west. There were several items of clothing found in this grave besides these two bodies. These items are listed below and were placed in the bag and taken to the morgue with the remains. Boots, brown leather zipper on sides, tennis shoes, white with black stripes, shirt, short sleeve sport shirt, blue-green with yellow stripes running vertically, pants, blue-green, or pants, blue, green, red, and yellow vertical stripes, cotton rib, shirt, gold short sleeve, brand name Towncraft, size 15, pants, blue with brown belt, permanent pressed, small size, ID folder, black and plastic, empty, bathing suit or shorts, nylon pink, green, and white tie-dye pattern, bathing suit beige or off-white with brown print, a belt, white sock, white t-shirt, and a Houston Police Department offense report form. This is still among the list of items found. A Houston Police Department offense report form. Partial. This will be submitted to the police lab in the morning and tagged until then in the homicide locker. Only skeletal remains were found. Bodies were found at 12:05 p.m. Grave number 8, which is bodies 13 and 14. This grave was found in the southeast corner of the garage, running north and south along the east wall. Body number 13 had the head to the north and feet to the south, and body number 14 had the head to the south and feet to the north. Due to the difficult digging in this grave site, it was not discovered that it contained two bodies until a third femur was found. At this time, most of the smaller bones had been placed in one bag, so both remains were placed in the one bag. In this grave, the following evidence was found: 2 wallets, brown leather, cigarette lighter, red, cigarette lighter, small, chrome-colored, 1 key-on ring, pocket knife, small, plastic billfold, insert, empty, pin on button, black, 1 3/4 inch in diameter, plastic billfold insert containing a Reagan State Bank calendar from 1971, an ID card for a Edward Waldrop. It looks like 904 5 Tulane, not sure what that last number is, Houston, and Social Security card for Edward Waldrop, 405E First Street, Jacksonville, Florida, and found separately a hospital ID card for Grady Memorial Hospital, Atlanta, Georgia, for Jerry L. Waldrop, 554 Washington Street, Southwest, stating that the parents were Everett and Mary Inez. Upon returning to homicide, we learned that Detective Gamino had received a call from Everett Waldrop, white male, 43, 455 North Highland Avenue, Northeast, number 4, Atlanta, Georgia, and that the ID for Edward L. Waldrop had been carried by Donald Wayne Waldrop, date of birth August 14th, 1955, and that missing person reports are on file for Donald and Jerry Lynn Waldrop, date of birth September 15th, 1957. See Detective Gamino's supplement for other details regarding this. Only skeletal remains were found. The Waldrop brothers have been missing since January 30th, 1971. Evidence tagged. The partial Houston Police offense report found above body 9 and below body 3 will be placed in the lab lockbox in ID by Detective James, who recovered it and kept it in his possession, to be processed to try to determine if any writing was on it. Citation 52 is also in Houston PD Offense Report D68904, August 9th, 1973, but in a different installment of it. This one here. Whoops. Here it is here. Apologies. Progress report. I, J. A. Gamino, this evening received a telephone call from Everett Waldrop, white male, 43, 455 North Highland Avenue, Northeast, number 4, Atlanta, Georgia, area code 404, phone number 688-8095. He told me that he lived in Houston during 1970 to 1971, and that he was living at, oh boy, 904 something Tulane, 9045 Tulane. He said that he had two sons. One, Donald Wayne Waldrop, white male, was born on August 14th, 1955, and Jerry Lynn Waldrop, white male, date of birth September 15th, 1957. He said that during this time that his two sons got to messing around with homosexuals and that he just couldn't stop them. He said that on or about January 30th, 1971, his two sons were supposedly going to the Merchant Park bowling alley to join a league. This is the last that he has seen or heard from them. He was wondering if perhaps any of the bodies recovered here in Houston could be his sons. He said that the boy had had dental work done when they were attending Rutherford Elementary School in Jacksonville, Florida. The school had sent them to the school health center and that the school might possibly be able to help locate the dental records. He said that some of the names mentioned that his sons were chumming with were a Bill Walls and a Roy Ames. Citation 53 is Houston PD Supplementary Offense Report D68904 Progress Report December 22nd, 1973. Progress Report December 22nd, 1973. I received a call from Mr. Shackle of U.S. Probation Department who stated that he had in custody a Richard Van Payne, white male, date of birth July 9th, 1947, who was being transferred to Terminal Island, Long Beach, California. Shackle stated that Payne had told him that he had been in the warehouse in Houston and had seen photographs of the dead boys in the mass murder. This information was turned over to Don Lambright and Bill Hubble, and Bill Hubble contacted Shackle in San Diego, who had some further conversations with Payne, and it was decided that at this time Payne didn't have enough information to be of any further help to us. Payne did state that some of the main homos in the Los Angeles and San Diego area are a John Norman and a Walker Magnuson from La Jolla. Citations 54, 55, and 56 come from the State v. Smith, February 1991 transcripts. And for citations 54 and 56, we're going to look at number 15 right here. According to officials from the U.S. Postal Service, in December 1973, a search was made of a warehouse belonging to Roy Clifton Ames in Houston, Texas. Postal inspectors seized over 4 tons of child pornography materials. I'm just going to repeat that. Postal inspectors seized over 4 tons of child pornography materials. In 1975, a second search was conducted of Ames's warehouse by Houston police officers. In this search, over 2 tons of child pornography were seized. Keep in mind that a ton is 2,000 pounds. Also, citation 54 is Children Become a Commodity in Pornography World. The Fort Worth Star-Telegram, May 1st, 1977. Recent years have seen the surfacing of a number of pornography cases to which law enforcement officials point as evidence that the problem is growing geometrically. In 1974, postal authorities in Texas arrested Roy Ames and found, again, 4 tons. 4 tons of magazines and films in a Houston warehouse. Ames was charged with recruiting children off the Houston streets and paying them $5 for posing for photos and $5 for sex acts. He was sentenced to 12 years imprisonment on federal charges of sending obscene material through the mails. Ames had supplied 30 to 40 magazines around the country with pictures of children from age 8 to late teens involved in homosexual and heterosexual acts. Most of them were poor and recruited their friends. And then for citation 55, it's number 16 here. In the letters seized during both searches, officials found correspondence from R.D. Smith, 16704 72nd Avenue Northeast, Bothell, Washington, 98011. In numerous letters that were seized, Smith described his receipt of various items of hardcore child pornography, including depictions of young boys engaging in sexual intercourse with older boys and scenes of children in sexual bondage. In one letter, Smith wrote that he had been buying this explicit material for about 5 years. In another letter, Smith commented that a particular child pornography film would have been better if the manufacturers had, quote, tossed in a stiff 14-year-old, end quote. In another letter, Smith wrote that he possessed 650 slides of hardcore sexual activity involving children and who knows how many black and white sets, all of which are enjoyably reviewed from time to time. Officers also recovered order forms with Smith's name and address, personal checks from Smith, and a release form signed by Smith indicating that he is not offended by sexually oriented. Buttressing this point of there being two separate warehouse raids on Roy Ames, citation 56 is also the Select Committee on Child Pornography, its related causes and control, the Texas House of Representatives, 66th Legislative Season, page 72. The last major commercial dealer case prosecuted in the state of Texas was the case of Roy Clifton Ames in Houston. That case, which received considerable local publicity, involved the production of obscene films and other materials in Houston and the sale of these materials through the mails using addresses in New York and California. The majority of the materials in question were of a homosexual nature, and local Houston residents, including several young teenage boys, were used as models. This case probably earned the city of Houston the title of kid porn capital of the world. 4¼ tons of porn and equipment were initially confiscated. Later, 2 additional tons were seized by Houston Police Department. Pertaining now to the second warehouse raid, citations 57 and 58 is youths pictured in sex material from the Wichita Falls Times, February 28th, 1975. And it's really just this portion highlighted. Houston. Juvenile officers say 11 boys who were victims in the Houston mass murders case are pictured in sex materials seized in what police called a homosexual ring. Also for citation 57 is Houston, Los Angeles link discussed in mass killings. The Napa Valley Register, September 23, 1976. Houston. California police have discussed a possible link between the boy prostitute and pornography aspects of the Houston mass murders and the discoveries of 11 bodies of young men in the Los Angeles area. Juvenile Lieutenant H.A. Contreras said Detective John St. John and a partner met with officers Wednesday about the case of photographer Roy Clifton Ames, convicted in 1975 of using the mails to distribute obscene material. Ames was sentenced to a Springfield, Missouri federal prison after photographs of 11 of the Houston area victims of the mass murders were seized following the arrests and murder convictions of Elmer Wayne Henley Jr. and David Owen Brooks. Quote, "We knew that they were shipping kids, boy prostitutes, back and forth to the West Coast in the Ames deal," Contreras said, "but they just never got time to work that. It was sort of shuttle service. Ames and some of his people were engaged in this. They would send California kids here and Houston kids to California." The Los Angeles officers also talked with Detective K.D. Porter, who kept the records of the mass murder investigation. Porter declined comment, but St. John reportedly took copies of the records back to California. Citation 59 is Texas toll of boys rises to 27 in nation's biggest slaying case. The New York Times, August 14th, 1973. In a statement to the police, Brooks named 5 apartments where Corll lived in the Heights area where the youth said he had heard of or witnessed murders taking place. The first few that Dean killed were supposed to have been sent off somewhere in California, Brooks said. Citation 60 is Jury Blasts Handling of Murder Case from the Brownwood Bulletin, November 2nd, 1973. Houston. The grand jury which investigated the murder of 27 teenagers here ended its term with a report saying police and the district attorney's office had not followed up on the possible involvement of others in the slayings. The investigation by the police and district attorney's office, quote, lacked professional imagination, thoroughness, and professional coordination, end quote, the grand jury said Thursday. They said the Houston police abandoned the investigation about September 1st, leaving unexplored the possible involvement of others and related criminal activities. Harris County District Attorney Carol Vance said the grand jury report stressed a few negative aspects while ignoring the accomplishments in a difficult and complicated case. He called the grand jurors, quote, a conscientious bunch, but difficult to communicate with. Captain I.D. Morrison, who headed the investigation in the Houston Police Homicides Division, was not available for comment. He said as recently as October 18th that police were still working on the case. The report by the jurors criticized the assigning of only a single prosecutor in the district attorney's office to the case, adding that not until September 24th was he given an investigator. Vance said that on the contrary, that this was the first time his office had ever assigned one prosecutor to work full-time on a single investigation. Quote, there appeared to us to be a lack of inquiry into a number of important details, the report said. Much of the problem in following up the wealth of leads was the lack of knowledge of what the district attorney's office had or had not investigated. Vance said his office has never stopped following leads. Quote, we'll continue to investigate and run down any leads at all. even if they turn out to be wild goose chases, as many of them have. End quote. Referenced on page 29 is a statement from Robin M. Lloyd from the hearings before the Subcommittee on the Judiciary on Sexual Exploitation of Children, 1977, pages 343 to 344 of the document itself, or of the PDF itself, rather. Beginning here with quite recently. So this is Robin Lloyd speaking, who is the author of For Money or Love, which we've cited several times here. Beginning here with quite recently. Quite recently, a man with the unlikely name of Guy Straight was sentenced to a lengthy prison term in Rockford, Illinois, for using children for pornography. Mr. Straight was considered to be a big producer. His partner, Bill Byers, is the heir to the humble oil fortune and fled the country a couple years ago to Italy. These partners produced vast amounts of pornographic films and magazines. But when Houston police arrested Roy Ames, Ames described them as small-time operators. Houston police officers tried to make a deal with Ames, offering him a light sentence in exchange for information about other producers. In spite of the fact that Ames was facing a 10-year sentence, he laughed at the police and told them his operation would run just as well while he was in jail. Citation 61 is man facing kid porn charges. The Waco Tribune Herald, March 25th, 1981. Houston. A Houston man has been charged with offering to sell 25 master copies of homosexual child pornography films to federal agents for $20,000. Police Captain Tommy Shane said police suspect the films depicting young boys engaged in sexual activities were made in the Houston area. Roy Clifton Ames, 43, was arrested Tuesday at a shopping center parking lot near the Houston Intercontinental Airport, where police said he had picked up two U.S. Customs undercover agents posing as customers interested in reproducing the film for sale in the Boston area. Ames was charged with wholesale promotion of obscene material and is being held under a $100,000 bond. And just a quick correction here on Dovey's part, he does mention when citing this that the way he words it on page 30 is that Ames was arrested in Boston. As you can see from this article, he was not arrested in Boston. The Boston reference was to um, uh, what the claim of these undercover agents was, that they were interested in reproducing the film for sale in the Boston area. But he was arrested at the